Hey bitch, and welcome back to me talking about people I hate. In today's video, we're doing another podcast style video. Sometimes I'm just gonna make these videos because I sat down to make an official video, what I consider to be a well thought out, well put together video on this. And honestly, there's just so much I want to talk about and so much that I keep leaving out. So I would rather have this as a discussion and kind of like a news segment. But before I get into today's video, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for your support on the Color Block sweatshirts. They are available for the month of November, and the link is in the description down below. The two people that we're going to talk about in today's video are possibly the most prime examples of equine abusers there fucking are. Christine Wells and Andrew Kosher are just disgusting pieces of trash. This is so much bigger than an animal abuse story because there's so many layers to this, and there's so many things that I want to talk about in regards to FEI and actual equestrians holding other equestrians accountable, which is something that we have failed to do for decades and decades and decades in our sport. It is time to start holding other equestrians responsible for being abusive pieces of shit that make the entire sport and all other equestrians look bad. So first, I think we should talk about one of the biggest stories in equestrian news lately, and that is Andrew Kosher. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Andy Kosher is an elite level jumper. I say that very loosely because honestly, in my opinion, Andy Kosher is a foul piece of garbage. I don't think he got to his position by being a good rider or even a competent rider or an intelligent rider. I think that Andy Kosher got to his position by abusing animals into doing what he wants them to do. And there's a big difference between having a partnership with an animal and being able to accomplish amazing things and go to amazing levels of sport versus abusing an animal into making them very fearful of what's going to happen if they don't accomplish what you're asking them to do. And I talk about this quite a lot on my channel, how there's a massive difference between training and abusing. You might have a similar outcome with abusing an animal. You might be able to get quicker results faster, but A, it's horrible, and B, it's not going to last forever, and the horse is going to go off and do what it wants to do or fight back, which we're going to talk about in our second story, which is the perfect example of this. If you have to abuse horses to compete at a very high level because you suck at riding, you have poor horsemanship, and your horses probably don't want to do it, and so you're forcing them to do it by shocking them with shock spurs, then you definitely are a total piece of human garbage and deserve to never be around animals ever again.
This is the battery pack, which I guess he keeps in his pocket, or I think he started strapping it to his back. Button mechanism, which I've been showing you in all the photos, is that. So you can see it has this button, and that's what he's holding, sort of like that, under the reins, but sometimes it ends up sticking out. And then each one of these wires goes down the leg, goes out that hole in the boots, and then he, as long as it's going along the spur, he electrical tapes it. So you just have to have this part touching the metal. There you can see.
It's so funny, guys, because on Andy Kosher's website, first of all, why do you even have a website? But it literally says he's literally sucking his dick on his own website. It's so funny. A third-generation horseman, Andy Kosher used his riding talent, business savvy, and sheer will to climb the ranks to the highest levels of the sport of show jumping. Yeah, you didn't use talent. You used abusive methods to climb to the highest ranking in the sport, okay? And I'm gonna talk about this in general because Andy Kosher is not the only one, which is why it's great that FEI is finally holding equestrians at his level accountable, which is something that they've failed to do for decades. A respected rider? Yeah, not anymore, bitch. Basically, Andy Kosher competed at very, very high levels in FEI, national and international competitions of show jumping. For a very long time, people have been reporting to FEI that Andy Kosher has been seen in photos that are zoomed in, holding tasers in his gloves in his hands, tasing horses, and also wires running through his pant leg connecting to his spurs that make his spurs electric when he spurs the horses, which are considered shock spurs. That's what they're called. All of which are illegal to use in competition. One thing I want to point out is so many riders use this. Andy Kosher's not the only one. He's just the first one to have been caught and banned. There's so many people who abuse horses openly in competition that FEI has failed to reprimand over the years. And there's also so many elite level riders who abuse horses behind the scenes as training methods, dressage, jumping, cross country, whatever you name it, Western as well. There are so many people who are so corrupt who make it to these extremely high levels of our sports, and they need to be held accountable just like every other person. And FEI, unfortunately, has failed to do that for decades and decades and decades, and it's only been over the last 5 to 10 years that FEI has even considered doing anything to anybody who abuses horses and is competing at a high level.
But dear FEI, why is this still going on? You're here to protect horses. How do these riders get through gear check? I want to know. I want to know why this is allowed in our sport and why people don't talk about it, why people just sweep things under the rugs, why blatant abuse of horses is allowed.
But on October 29th, FEI did release a statement after being bombarded with pictures and people emailing them. You are not stupid, FEI. I want people to know this. FEI is not a stupid organization. They fucking know that there's abusive methods behind the scenes and that there's riders who openly abuse horses. FEI stated, the FEI has opened disciplinary proceedings against USA jumping athlete Andrew Kosher following allegations that he has used electric spurs on a number of FEI registered and national horses in international and national events and during training. Andy Kosher has been riding this way for a very long time. And I think it's absolute trash that FEI is like, oh, well, we just now realized that Andy Kosher's been doing this. No, you fucking didn't. Andy Kosher has been seen doing this, as well as many other riders, in national and international competitions, as well as training sessions. You cannot sit there and tell me, FEI, that you guys have never noticed that Andy Kosher was shocking horses and abusing horses openly. Okay, they only did something about it because so many people blew the whistle on them and basically forced them to reprimand this guy. The disciplinary proceedings against Andrew Kosher are in accordance with Article 30 of International Regulations of FEI Tribunal for multiple alleged breaches of FEI general regulations, including Article 142, which prohibits horse abuse. Yeah, well, you don't really keep up with your fucking regulations that well, FEI, let's be real. The athlete has been provisionally suspended, effective immediately from the date of notification, the 28th of October 2020, meaning that he is ineligible to participate in any FEI events. The provisional suspension is mirrored by the athlete's national federation, so he is also ineligible to participate in any national events. This is all well and good, and I'm happy that they're finally doing this because this is going to trickle down to all the other riders that need to be exposed as well. But it's kind of a shame that it took so much for FEI to finally start holding people accountable because, again, this guy was openly abusing horses and everyone knew about it. The FEI legal department had previously notified Andrew Kosher on the 29th of June 2020 that an investigation had been opened following the allegations of him using electric spurs reported to the Independent Equestrian Community Integrity Unit. Ugh. Basically, the entire case of Andy Kosher is that this is a douchebag who's been abusing and shocking horses openly in competition, and I'm sure doing much worse in training sessions behind the scenes to get to his elite level of talent in the sport. Elite level riders need to be held accountable. I'm glad that Andy Kosher is getting what he deserves. I think that animal cruelty charges need to be pressed against him, or someone needs to open an actual criminal investigation into the abuse behind the scenes, because if this guy, think about it, guys, if this guy FEI is willing to openly shock horses in national and international competitions in front of people where he knows he's being photographed and videotaped and people can clearly see it, just imagine what he's doing behind the scenes to all of his horses. There's so much corruption that happens once you get past a certain level of competition in the equestrian community. And so many people can attest to this, more than just myself, because I obviously don't compete. And I'm not talking about every single one of them, because there's obviously plenty of good ones, but a lot of high-level equestrians only care about ribbons, only care about money, only care about gold medals, going to the Olympics, etc. And the training practices and disciplinary measures taken against horses at these high levels are oftentimes repulsive. FEI really, really, really needs to start cracking the whip on these people.
The mentality in this sport needs to change. Horses can't be seen as a plaything or a sports equipment anymore. They're living animals. I have no problem with the use of bits, spurs, etc., whips in the right fashion, but when this is happening at A-level shows, at international shows, and there's supposed to be officials and judges and stewards looking out for these horses and, you know, being the voice for them, and it's not happening.
Equestrians like me and equestrians like you guys are the people who are gonna blow the whistle on this and put pressure on FEI to actually take action, like what happened with Andrew Kosher, which needs to happen. Change needs to happen in the equestrian community. This is exactly why there's so many people and animal rights activists out here that are trying to get the entire industry shut down. It's because a few bad apples are making the entire sport look bad, and FEI is not doing shit about it. But I hope that changes. I genuinely hope that that changes. Christine Wells, man, oh my God, you guys are gonna die when you hear this story. I mean, if this is not karma, if this is not justice, I don't know what is. I feel bad for the horses that we failed, and honestly, this story is a testament to equestrians needing to do better and be better as a whole. So Christine Wells was a international dressage rider for the German team, as well as a double World Cup winner. She was a very, very high-level athlete. Again, just like Andrew Kosher, I'm telling you, these people are corrupt, you guys. Once you pass that certain point, you gotta really start looking out for people and keeping a close eye to make sure that they're treating their animals right. Because you guys are the forefront and the face for all of us. You guys are the face of our entire sport. You guys either make the equestrian community look good, or you make the equestrian community look bad. And right now, you guys have frankly been making a lot of equestrians look like dog shit. So completely disregard all of Christine Wells' accomplishments, because honestly, all of that's about to go right down the toilet when you hear what I'm gonna tell you next. In 2008, Christine Wells was convicted of animal cruelty for whipping her horse more than 470 times in a 30-minute training session. And keep in mind, these were 5 times a week training sessions. When they went to her barn to investigate, because the security footage was released of her whipping her horse, which I'll show right now.
Das Pferd ist völlig verstört. Es ist gezwungen, in einem viel zu engen Zirkel zu laufen. Die Art und Weise, wie sein Kopf heruntergebunden ist eine grobe Quälerei, die den Pferdefach. Trotz Berufsverbots arbeitet die Trainerin hier.
When animal welfare officers went to her barn to investigate the abuse that was uncovered in the video footage, they saw so many horses in stalls and in paddocks that had bloody pasterns, legs all up and down, skin completely gone. These horses were bloodied from being repeatedly whipped hundreds and hundreds of times in 30-minute training sessions 5 times a week. Like, what a vindictive, disgusting bitch, honestly. I seriously have no words for how disgusting of a human being Christine Wells is, and karma got her back so good, because when I said she was a former dressage rider, yeah, she's dead now. So in 2008, when she was convicted of animal cruelty, they sentenced her to 1 year and 9 months probation, and she was not allowed to handle any animals or have any animals. And because of that, she picked up and she fucking moved. And she moved to Denmark from Germany. And I just want to make it clear that not a single high-level equestrian organization held her accountable. This was public record, public information, and not a single high-level equestrian organization held her accountable for abusing horses. In fact, they literally allowed her to continue training and competing when she moved to Denmark. And she was convicted of animal cruelty. Literally fucking no organization did anything or even published it or announced it. They swept it under the rug. This was published by police for public record. This was not published by any equestrian organization. This was not even talked about or reported. No equestrian organization banned her or said that you can't compete. She was literally allowed to compete and train professional horses when she moved to a different country that allowed her to do that. What the actual fuck? Not a single equestrian held her responsible. I mean, we literally failed these horses that she was training. We failed them. And so what happened? One of the horses that she was training, Rolando, which first of all, can we please investigate any human being that would send their horse to a known animal abuser for animal cruelty as well? Come on, people. If you're seriously sending your horse to be trained by a convicted animal abuser, you probably should also not own animals. But basically what happened is in July of 2015, because no one would help these horses or stand up for them, one of the horses named Rolando that she was training kicked her in the fucking head and killed her. It happened during one of her horrific whipping sessions where she was whipping the horse around and then the horse just got fed up with it and kicked her in the head. Yeah, I probably would have gotten fed up with it after just one whipping. I mean, can you imagine being such a horrible, disgusting person that you whip a horse until it bleeds? Can you imagine just being such a horrible, nasty person that you're whipping a horse for punishment anyway? Those were the two stories I wanted to talk about today, you guys. I created my channel because there were so many things happening in the equestrian community that I disagreed with. There were so many people that were getting away with shit and so much abuse that was being condoned and still is condoned that nobody was talking about, nobody was calling out, and I'm not about to stop making videos. And you know what? FEI, you are responsible. You're responsible for all of the horses that are under all of these riders' cares that you're allowing to compete at these national levels, because you need to be regulating your industry better. You need to be making sure that if you're allowing people to ride animals in competition, that their animals are well cared for and well treated. I think it's absolutely absurd that no one called out Christine Wells, even after she had been convicted of animal cruelty. And I think it's equally as absurd that it took hundreds and hundreds of people to report Andy Kosher's abuse over years for them to finally do something. So you know what? I hope this is a wake-up call for all the other equestrians out there who are about to be reprimanded by FEI as well. I'm excited because hopefully this means that FEI is taking shit more seriously. Hopefully that's the case. I'm very hopeful for the future and to see what happens. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below on both of these stories, or if there's any other stories you want to talk about that have just come out or whatnot. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, make sure to head over to Shop Raleigh link to check these out, and Coldest Water because I love them and they support almost every single one of my videos. But otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.